Okay. This is the regular Woodbridge monthly Board of Finance meeting, date January 15th, 2015. And the first item on our agenda is public comments, and unless the camera crew has a public comment, we'll move on to item 2. Tony.
Thank you, Matt.
The floor is yours.
So we have our financial results for the first half of the fiscal year, and so far we're doing well. We have a budgetary surplus conservatively estimated at $142,000, and that's a $4.2 million fund balance for the end of the year. A couple of highlights. One is department charges. Department charges are projected to slight surplus of $30,000. We are running a surplus projected in town clerk fees, conveyance taxes, zoning permits, and transfer station fees. So all four of those are doing well so far this year. On the expenses, the Board of Selectmen budget has a surplus of $10,000 because this year we are largely due to a surplus in legal fees, which is doing well this year. That's the fees for...
Was.
Yeah.
That's over.
Yeah.
So, this memo was from last week. And the Country Club of Woodbridge has a, largely due to some unanticipated repairs, the Country Club has experienced a deficit of $12,000 in repairs and maintenance. That's due to a failed pump on the Fountain Street pump station, which is the main water feed to the facility. So we had to fix that. And we do have some deficits also in electricity and in water this year. We are, however, looking into funding this deficit with some revenues from the 2014 year. So we're hopeful that that will help to cover most, if not all, of that deficit. The police department has a shortfall in overtime this year, as they've had in past years. But at the moment, they do have a surplus in wages to cover that shortfall. So there's no impact on the financials for that. Waste management has a slight surplus of about $20,000. We do have a surplus in bulky waste disposal and recycling, but a slight deficit in tipping fees for municipal solid waste. So those result in a surplus of $20,000. And finally, employee benefits. There's a surplus of about $75,000 projected. Although we've had a shortfall in workers' compensation of $19,000 and a shortfall in due to heart hypertension claim of $25,000, we are doing well this year in retiree health care, which is a surplus of close to $70,000, and the police retirement of about $50,000. Yes.
On the police.
The retirement. Yeah.
I'm sorry, going back to the police department. Regarding the shortfall in overtime, is that supposed to, I thought that was going to be reduced or eliminated when the new officers are hired. Is that an item that is expected to level out?
That will help when new officers are hired. There's also some other issues in there, but that is definitely an issue, is there shortage of personnel. So that's why they're either through positions that are not hired or through injuries. And so when there's an injury, we get reimbursed from workers' compensation to offset that wage. So that's why there's money in the wage account for those reasons.
Were there a couple of police officers that
There's still,
Yeah.
there's still, I think, two more.
There are two.
Two still on
Yeah.
medical. One, they're waiting for possible surgery, so I think that creates part of the problem. And there's overtime issues based on what kind of road work is being done and whether or not they need policemen at that.
That's also an
That's
issue.
the other issue. So there's two issues there.
Yep.
So and technically, you could say, well, they're down two guys, or they're still down two guys or girls, or however, two persons and two officers, and they have to resolve these issues before they can replace them.
I'm sure, Tony, compared to last year, we're doing much better in public works.
We are doing very well.
We'll probably get.
You're jinxing us here.
I don't believe in that. No, I'm sorry.
And a couple of the snowfalls we had were actually during the day, if I remember correctly.
I handled the church, and we had 6 plowable events at this time last year. So,
Wow.
so that means you guys had, well, the town had 6 plowable events.
When it snows and it snows.
We had little mini things, and one of them was right in the right time.
Yeah, when it snows and you just hope it's snowing during the day, then
Yeah.
it's okay.
That's when you know you've been doing this too long, when you're thinking
That's
about, I'm thinking about, oh, let's see, this isn't overtime.
Can I ask a question also about the contingency fund?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. I noticed that we approved two funding requests, but I don't see that the funds were released or encumbered in the contingency fund.
So what happens on contingency is simply a fund that gets transferred to some other place. So the money in contingency for the book, for instance,
Okay, I see.
would
the
then
books
reduce the contingency budget and get transferred into the town clerk's budget, which is where that
Okay, so that's
money
the
is.
20,000 transfer.
Correct. So then if you go into the town clerk's department,
Okay.
let's see, you should see it in there. You'll see it in there. It might not have made this is December.
Okay,
I
no,
think that was
that's-
done in January, but
So
it'll
then
be,
the animal control is the one that isn't there. The 14,000 for animal control.
where are you looking exactly?
That was, let's see.
We haven't, that was only contingency transfer this year was the,
Okay, yeah, on the July 17th meeting.
that was from the prior year.
Okay, so that was a prior year.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was prior year.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else on the monthly? What, I guess it's done, Tony, 'cause I got a big thing here.
right here.
Cladry. Yeah.
So just to let you know that the audit is finished, we have the comprehensive annual financial report. There's a report to the Board of Finance as the audit committee for the town. So in that report, we'll show you the, any findings, if there are any required communications and any adjustments that they've had to make here. And then the federal state financial compliance report is here, which is an analysis of our grants and if there were any findings with our grants, which there were no findings there, and there were no findings on the audit either. So it was a clean audit.
No. Since when?
And the Scott Bassett will be here on February 3rd to present the audit to both the boards of selectmen and finance.
Okay.
So I thought maybe we could wait till he comes, he can go through it for you.
Okay, Woodbridge Board of Ed, Sandy, you were going to be talking about this, their budget, and we met with Dr. Stella Monday, Tuesday? Tuesday. But
Okay,
you
good. We'll
talk-
get to that. Yep.
Okay, reminder, a week from tonight is our first budget meeting, January 22nd. The following Tuesday, January 27th, and the Tuesday after that, February 3rd, and we had to use that last meeting because Board of Ed couldn't make any others. So. Okay. Funding requests. Oh, anything other, Tony?
No other.
Funding requests. We have one, and it is a, I guess, I don't know if this is considered the jaws of life or
Correct.
whatever.
That's what it is.
According to the memo from the chief, the unit gave them a problem or didn't work or whatever, so they need to replace it. So I'm sure there'll be some discussion, on this. So let me get it on the table with a move. I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1415-08 in the amount of $9,100.
The,
Second, any second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so
if I can
discussion.
give you some background,
Yep.
that's helpful. The fire department has 2 Jaws of Life units. There's one that, if I remember correctly, is about 8 years old, 6 or 8 years old. And then there's another that's about 14 years old, which is what this is. And the power supply, the power unit on the Jaws of Life tool failed and is no longer operational. So this would simply just replace the power unit on the tool to make it usable again at a scene. And from what the chief said, they like to have 2 in case something like this happens where something's failed and then they have a call and one of them's down, they have another one to use.
I think one of my questions is though, we're only 6 months into the budget. For this to come out of contingency, so many other departments, whatever, use line item transfers. Did they look at that? I mean, I'm just looking at some of these line items. After 6 months, there's, even in fuel, there's only been $2,000 expended out of a $15,000 budget. some other professional development, did they try to make an effort to do some line item transfers and maybe use contingency towards the end of the year when they know?
So, I think because it's because it is earlier in the year, and that we did have this discussion, and at that point, they weren't comfortable, with, that they would have the available funds.
Well, I'd like to take a shot that they might. I mean, in my own budget,
Yeah.
everybody just looks around to say that we're going to spend our entire budget in January to June and not make any effort whatsoever, and just say, give us 10 grand more. I'd have a bit of a problem with that.
I think
Okay.
historically,
They are historically tight.
they spend every nickel.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
I'm not saying that that's,
So come in April or May and say where you've been, we have time, they have money, and just wait a little longer to see, or, other departments. I mean, I know just being the liaison to human services, I don't think their budget is anywhere near there, and they'll make some moves throughout, try to do a line item transfer.
good point.
Okay?
Why don't we just, let's take a quick glance at
So
I
do-
have a question, Tony.
Yeah.
If you change the source of the funding, does it have to go back to the Board of Selectmen?
I don't think so,
So
no. But you could change the source of the funding. The only thing that can't be done is it can't be increased more than the request. But the source of the funding can be changed by the Board of Finance to whatever they feel appropriate. So if you want to change it partly or entirely, you can certainly do that.
Karen brought up professional development. Out of 27,000, they spent 3. I don't recall what that.
And the oil heating, there's still 12,000. If this report is,
Oil heating
don't have oil
is
anymore.
converted to
That's
gas.
converted to gas.
That's
all
why.
right,
So
so
gas would be charged to that, or is that gas is separate?
No, that's, let me find it here.
gas looks separate. There's 12,000 right
I
in
have a
that
feeling
line
that's
item.
gasoline, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But this report is only showing $2,200 expended if these are expenses to 12/31 of 15,000. There's quite
Right,
a
it was
bit.
transferred to gas, it was converted to gas in November, I think.
Okay.
So there could be some money left in
So
oil.
there could be.
So how would that, I'm just talking out loud. If we just didn't approve this, they'd have to find the money within their budget and with a message to come back to us if, but there's a few items that certainly warrant, take a couple thousand here and a couple thousand there.
You do that.
Or we could fund part of it and ask them to
Yeah,
put part of it under.
okay.
What's the total amount, 70 what?
That's
9,100.
91.
So we could do 46 and they do 45.
That sounds like a reasonable
Okay,
compromise.
so, and if you want, you can leave it to my discretion
Yeah.
to work
Yeah.
with the chief to fund the $4,500.
Yeah, we're not saying no, we're just saying,
I'd like to see, I'd kind of like to see them order the units so
Yeah.
that they can get it online.
no, we're not saying no, we're just saying, let's see if we can squeeze it out, like as
Okay.
Karen said, like everybody else.
That's fine,
says, so.
we can take care of that.
All right, so then,
We create like we'll create a funding request, 14, 15,
so we're gonna do a modification.
08A,
Right.
and then, or 09 we can call. How about that?
So then why don't we
08
vote on
is-
do we have to vote on the original motion? Might as
It's
well.
been made.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do a
you
modification.
can withdraw the motion, I think, if you withdraw the motion in second.
I gotta be careful, I don't wanna get sued.
I believe
Do
you
you- I mean,
can.
do we
I don't
have
have the
Robert's
rules. We need them.
Why don't we vote on the motion?
Why don't we make a friendly amendment, because we're actually.
Oh, you can do that.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
So I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we actually go back and have Tony work with the chief to look for $4,500 from within their current budget, so it'd be a line item transfer, and then we would approve the $4,600 from the contingency.
So we'll change 1415-08, reduce it from 9,100 to 4,600.
Correct,
And then you can vote on that one.
right. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, so it's 4,600, so we're gonna modify allocation 4,600. Just explain to him what we're doing here.
Yeah, and then on the second one, the transfer motion would be to transfer of 40, the difference, 45.
Well, we don't need a motion for that, do you? Just-
Well, because then you have to direct me to transfer from accounts to be just,
But that was the
Into
point of the
here.
friendly amendment, saying we're approving 9,100.
oh, okay, I
Okay.
see, I gotcha,
4,500
get
is, okay, line item transfer.
got it,
Okay, so it's just different source
Got it.
of the total amount.
okay,
Okay.
no problem.
But just to clarify, Tony doesn't have to come back to us, we've given him the
Authority, right, right. To work that through, but that's our recommendation, yeah,
4,500.
right.
And he's very good at that.
I can do that.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, approval of minutes. We have before us the minutes of the monthly meeting on Thursday, December 18th. I'll move acceptance of the minutes of Thursday, December 18th as presented.
Second.
Any corrections or adjustments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Abstained, one abstention. Ellen?
Thank you, Matt. It's been a busy month, as always, and I'd like to go through some of the things that I've been doing. I am the liaison for the Board of Selectmen to the Economic Development Commission. I don't think you have a liaison there, so I thought maybe I'd just give you a quick update. I hadn't thought to do that before, but we have some really interesting and innovative new businesses coming to town, some high-tech companies, and I've been visiting some, and the Economic Development Commission has now invited new companies to come and explain why they chose Woodbridge and what they're doing here, and also expanding companies to come in an effort to really get more synergy in the business district and try to build our business base. So that's been great.
And they're coming to the Board of Selectmen, or they're coming to
They're coming to the Economic Development Commission, and then
Okay.
I've been trying to get out and visit some of the businesses as well, and Betsy does little articles about them, so that we promote them and they get to recognize each other. So that's, it's very, very promising. Also, we've reallocated some of our liaison roles. I'm also now the liaison to the Human Services Commission. Joe Dye doesn't think that we should have the liaison system that we do. He thinks that the commission chairs should come to the Board of Selectmen. And he had brought that up about a year ago, and I met with just about all the commission chairs to see what they thought. It seemed like a pretty big burden on them to come to the Board of Selectmen. In any event, so he had stopped going to the meetings, and we reallocated them. So I picked up Human Services, and I know Karen will tell you about that, but it's just part of my monthly activity. We're following up on the microgrid. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow, so hopefully by the next meeting we'll have a substantive update on that. We've been having phone calls and meetings to try to keep that moving. One of our big issues, of course, is the Exit 59 DOT plan, and there was an informational meeting in December. It was pretty well attended, and Mayor Harp was there from New Haven, and we've been working together, and hopefully there will be a project that moves forward in what in DOT time is quickly, and that'll be about 4 years as opposed to 30 years. So they are working on that. December, there were many holiday events. Cub Scout Pack 902 prepared holiday baskets, which I accepted on behalf of Human Services. I actually went up to Hartford for the Governor's Holiday Breakfast for mayors and first selectmen, which was delightful. We had an employee holiday luncheon on December 19th. It was very well attended, very good spirit. The food from Katz's was plentiful and delicious, and the cake provided by Mr. Esposito was fabulous from Lucy Bella. It was a multicultural lunch.
Oh, what kind of cake, Andy?
Soup and glaze cake.
Oh, nice.
It was beautiful.
It was excellent,
It was
yeah.
beautiful. And I will take the opportunity, as I did last night, to thank our town employees again for the amazing job that they do. And then on December 22nd, we had our board and commission holiday reception. Some of you were there, and I would like to thank all of you again also, and all the boards and commissions. The town could not run with volunteers, and I and many others really appreciate everything that you do. So thank you all, and I hope you'll make it to the party next year if you didn't this year. It was terrific and very good spirit, and people meeting each other who hadn't met before. pesticide policy, we had the problem with our all-organic policy and the ball fields, so we now have a report from an expert that we hired to look at the fields and make recommendations, and I think in February the board will be reconsidering the policy. It doesn't look like we can continue all-organic on the ball fields, although we may pick one to see how we do with it. Adam is helping us work on that. Other meetings, we have a regular meeting with Dr. Stella. I now meet regularly with Chip Dumais, although not as frequently, but just to keep up to speed on what's happening at Amity. And I meet with other staff people. Also this month, Mary Lou Oleski and Tom Griggs, who are the Director and Development Director of Arts and Ideas, came to see us about possibly doing some kind of linked event here in Woodbridge with Arts and Ideas, like a pop-up Arts and Ideas. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that together quickly enough, but I think it would be another good community building event and bring people together. So we're working on that. We have a follow-up meeting scheduled. The Woodbridge Energy Challenge is going very well. We had the first preliminary solar meeting. I think I reported on that last time. We had nearly 100 people at that one. This week there was the first home energy assessment meeting, and that was, people said it was really terrific in terms of the information that they received. I want to tell you the next meetings. March 3rd, the Energy Challenge meeting will talk about heating and cooling options, and in April there will be a second solar workshop. I don't have that date here, but I hope people keep an eye out for that because they're very helpful and interesting. You may know that Loredana Falsigno, who's the Republican Registrar of Voters, is leaving, and there was a nice little party for her and luncheon. She's been a terrific Registrar of Voters, and we'll miss her. She is spending the next month in Italy, however, so I don't think she's too upset about leaving the job. And Anna Dickerson will be the new Republican Registrar, and we welcome her and wish her well in that job. The Merritt Avenue Bridge is on budget but not on time. And we had an update last night at the Board of Selectmen meeting. It looks like the earliest the bridge will be completed at this point is April.
Right.
But we were assured by the engineers who are the supervisors and inspectors that the job is being very well done. It's safe and properly constructed, which is most important, but unfortunately has been
How
delayed.
many feet long is that bridge?
I know.
What is it,
Somebody
30 feet?
said the Golden Gate Bridge was done more
My
quickly, but
God.
but we do have to stop for the winter, and in California they don't.
Right.
So that the work will stop very shortly,
Yeah,
right, Tony?
correct, yeah.
And then resume as soon as weather allows.
So Tony, they're not being fined, they're off the daily fine, or are they on the daily fine?
They're on the daily fine until the work stops due to weather, which is around now, because the weather's gotten colder. And based on the type of work they have to do, it's weather-sensitive work. So the liquidated damages are assessed until that point, and then they'll resume once the work resumes in the spring.
Are the residents okay, understanding, or they're getting frustrated?
Most people are really okay. I mean, I think they are frustrated,
Yeah.
but they're being patient. And I sent them a letter, and I said, I hope that when the bridge is done, the improvements will make the frustration just disappear and just be glad that it's done. But of course, it's aggravating while it's happening. I'll tell you, one of the things I've learned in this year and a half as first selectman, I've learned a lot about construction projects. Number one, that I don't believe they're ever on time, right? So I think you just have to expect that, but it can be very
This
aggravating.
one back here was good.
Well, it's a little bit late.
It's a
Even
little
this one is
late,
late.
But basically the construction part of it.
Yes.
It's just finishing it.
But even that one, which we
Yeah.
thought was like as good as it could get. So we had an interesting presentation at the Board of Selectmen last night about looking at placing solar on some of our town property. We're particularly looking at the landfill to see if it would be possible to do solar panels there that could provide some of our power for the town. And so we're moving ahead with that. And finally, you all have the packets here with plans and reports that have been made about the town center over the last 10 or 15 years. And we've had requests at the Board of Selectmen for a little more in-depth discussion. There are a lot of new people who don't know what's gone into the planning and how the different pieces relate to each other. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a joint discussion with both boards. And we'll be doing that on January 27th, after the budget meeting. Tony tried to make that a shorter agenda so that we can then talk about the town plan and review the different pieces of it. Betsy Yagla did a short summary of each of the reports, so you can take a look at that. And we'll see if people have additional questions or anything else that they want to know as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liaison reports. I attended the Amity Board of Education meeting Monday night when Chip and I presented his 2015-2016 budget. The 2015-16 budget is calling for an increase of 2.24%, and if history means anything, I believe that will go down, because there are always things that come across that bring that down. That being said, Woodbridge's share of the budget is $13,559,077, which is an increase over the current year of $313,272, or 2.37%, which is the smallest increase of the three towns. Orange's is 3.35 and Bethany's is 2.97. Of course, this is all based on the number of students in the school. This is the earliest that I have ever seen the budget.
I agree.
And
We were talking about that the other day.
Chip intentionally was pushing for that. So there's more time to, and so he'll be coming, again, the earliest that we've ever seen the superintendent, to our February 19th monthly meeting to present highlights of the budget and et cetera, which is good because it'll give us plenty of time to understand his budget. Keep in mind that completely different from the Beecher budget, this 2.24% increase includes capital and debt service. Of course, Beecher's budget includes just their budget. Debt service is kept in our debt service schedule, and capital is kept in our capital. So it's an all-inclusive budget. There's nothing extra, which is why sometimes they're so careful to not have a problem, because they don't want to come back to the towns for more money, like they had to a number of years ago. Beyond that, I don't think there was anything else. That was the biggest thing. And I promised you guys a chuckle. At the meeting the other night, there was a question regarding lighting at the high school. And I guess they're saying that the parking lot is well lit, but the section of the park, the drive-in near the pond, is kind of dark. So Chip responded today. He said he'd look into it, and his response, I'm going to read right from his response to about 50 people. I received a question from a board member regarding lighting at the high school campus. I hope I can get through this. The parking lot is well lit and the street is well lit, but the section of driveway in between is not well lit. Some investigation revealed. That additional lighting was considered a number of years ago and was met with concern from ecologically minded citizens who claimed that it would affect frog reproduction in the pond. So they can't put lights there because it would affect frog reproduction. So that's my chuckle of the night.
Wait, so what was the decision?
They're not going to do it.
Just kidding.
We have sexually active frogs in Woodbridge. They're studs. I was sitting in my office and I read this and I started, everyone knows, what's the matter? I read it and we laughed all day. So that's the reason that we have, so we can have a head-on collision here. The frogs are going to be happy.
Unless unless one of the cars ends up in their pond.
Yeah, that's right. Interrupt them.
That's right.
Okay, Mike, top that.
Forget it.
The fire commission did meet on Monday, however, I had a conflict with another meeting, was unable to attend.
Okay. Karen?
The EMS did not meet. The Human Services did. And the first agenda item was the first selectman being introduced as the new liaison from the Board of Selectmen. That was very welcomed and appreciated and as Ellen said, the former first selectman rarely came to a meeting. That lack of representation and commitment is definitely viewed as a loss. I think it's especially true during budget time when the dialogue with the liaisons is particularly encouraged and appreciated when the budgets are being presented. And then my note, aside from the first selectman, I believe we're all volunteers here. And for someone who is elected to represent me, to consider my service to the town beneath his, simply due to the board I serve, seems rather obnoxious. In other news, the Holiday Gift Basket program was very successful, with 25% more baskets being distributed than in years past. The Emergency Fuel Fund has a comfortable balance due to the generosity of many residents and local businesses. The staff, along with the commission subcommittee, has been working diligently to prepare a responsible budget. That was voted on at their last meeting in preparation of their presentation next week. And the staff and commission continue to explore diverse and meaningful programming and assistance to the residents. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David, anything?
No, I wasn't able to attend last week.
Sandy?
I attended the Library Commission meeting this past Monday, and they were also very happy to have a new liaison from the Board of Selectmen, Susan Jacobs. Again, we had not had someone for over a year, and I think that there is a tremendous amount of appreciation on the part of the Commission that the elected officials would spend the time to get to know the people who are on the boards and commissions, and to really offer their advice and perspective for lots of different issues that come up. So they're very appreciative that Susan is actually rejoining.
Right.
So she was a
I think she
former
enjoyed it
liaison.
very much.
Yeah. The library is actually going to be having an amnesty week for fines. They're not advertising this, but you now know about it, and anyone who's listening will know about it. They are doing this the first week in February, the 2nd through the 7th, and there are other activities that week that will draw patrons to the library, and it's kind of like a nice little surprise for them that they can return things and they don't have to pay whatever overdue fines they have. They also talked about needing a policy for establishing minimum staffing levels at the library.
Right.
They do not have an established minimum staffing level and feel that that would really help them. They ran into a problem when we had the snow early last week, I guess. And the question was, how many librarians do they need to be able to staff and keep the library open? So they're going to be really looking at that and coming back with a recommendation. There's also going to be a request to look into putting a panic button in each of the circulation desk areas. And it's not necessarily for a scary event, although that can happen. But if there's only one person up there and something happens, health-wise, to an individual, there's no way for them to really call anybody else quickly. So they're going to request that be looked into. We found out that basically the Friends of the Library will be disbanding. There really are no members of the Friends of the Library, and the organization really can't continue to function the way that it has over the past years. And the bookstore will keep going as long as the library can provide some kind of a coordinator oversight for the people who do come in for the bookstore. And the hope is that when we have a new library director, that individual will have some ideas about how to look at the functions that the Friends did and come up with perhaps some other options regarding filling that need. And with regard to the director, they have 3 candidates that they were interviewing. The last person was coming, I believe, today. So hopefully they will have a recommendation about who they would like to pursue. And there was no more information about the individual candidates, but that they did feel that one of those individuals would be appropriate. And they also wanted to say thank you to the town for the new light at the parking lot. So thank you, Joni.
Oh, we put lights up in Woodbridge, huh?
It's not near a pond, is it?
That's right.
No pond, no.
Exactly. And they will look to probably come back with improved lighting for the rest
parking lot.
of
We
for the
talked
rest of
about
the
that, yeah.
lot.
Right.
And this at least takes care of the place where people have to take a step down. But the other areas of the lot are pretty dark. And then the last thing is that they're having problems with their C-car deliveries again. And these are kind of the books that get dropped off here. And we share books with, other libraries. And I really don't understand. This is a service that is run by the state. And they just cannot seem to get dependable people to perform this function. And I guess I just don't understand why the state wouldn't have performance indicators that if the contractor doesn't meet them, then you go out and you get somebody else. But Lynn stays on top of this, and when they see this happening, they call and then they get a response. But it just seems to be an ongoing operational issue. So,
Can I speak to that?
yeah.
One of the things we did yesterday at the Board of Selectmen meeting was have it wasn't quite a presentation, but our state delegation was there, our two state senators,
Oh.
Senator Crisco and Senator Schlossberg, and Representative Dennis Clarities. And they're a very strong team. They're all senior people and have good positions, and that's the kind of thing that perhaps it'd be worth a call to one of them
Okay.
to bring up the problem.
Okay.
And in fact, it might be Senator Schlossberg. She's now Senate Chair of Education, and I think the libraries might be under education. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but it's worth looking into.
All right. I will make that suggestion back to Lynn. Okay, terrific. I was not able to go to the Board of Ed meeting, but we all have their financial report, and they're anticipating now a surplus of $53,000, which is an increase over last month's. And again, we are not participating in the Wintergreen program, either from a transportation or a tuition perspective, and that's a large source of the increase, in addition to some other shifts. But so maybe the two of you would like to comment on your meeting with Dr. Stella.
Sure. Well, basically, we didn't get the details of his budget, but it's a 3.82% increase, which is pretty hefty. How was it?
Has that been approved by the board?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so because that's what went through and they approved it.
Yes.
Which I don't remember the dollar. Was it $500,000?
Yeah, it was about $500,000, yeah.
Which, we're gonna have to take a look at that.
Yep.
And beyond that, of course, it's the same situation probably at every school in the state, and that is salaries and benefits
Yeah.
comprise
Yep.
3/4 of the budget. I think part of the thing that drives Beecher is the fact that they have class size provisions, which keep the class sizes down. And they have a lot of aides to assist teachers, and they have a big staff over there teaching-wise. They don't have, according to Dr. Stella, their administrative staff is, I think, 5.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
5, yeah.
And it's remained that way.
So, but we'll have to, once Tony starts putting everything together, and we'll have to take a look at every budget, obviously. And I don't think we can look at every budget and say this, and this, and just say, Beecher, you get everything you want. But that'll be something we talk about. And we'll hear from him on the, and his presentations are always entertaining and informative. That'll be February 3rd, so. But that was pretty much all
was it,
we
right.
talked about was the budget. And that the construction project is going well.
Yep.
And I guess they installed the new boilers, and so there hasn't been any removal of classes and moving kids because they're freezing
Right.
so it's really helped the, and the distribution system hasn't been done yet, so. But just having the boilers working
Yeah.
is a big plus, so. Other than that, I don't think there's much else, so.
Ellen, can I ask you one question about the town center plan?
Yes.
And how this is reflected in the town plan in general?
The
In other
new
words, is
town
this a
plan.
subset of it, or is this actually a separate plan?
So I'm still reviewing all the details of the town plan, but
Okay.
this is, I would say this is different because the POCD
Yeah.
is a framework more of principles, it might have some recommendations, and I would think they overlap. What this is various reports that have been done over time.
Okay.
And it's not actually officially one plan, and I think that's kind of the point. It's the different pieces that have been discussed, at times approved, at times not formally approved, and it's really to bring up to speed, particularly the newer people, about what the discussion has been and how we've gotten to where we are.
And is there some type of decision that you're looking for in terms of a direction for moving forward?
Well, I actually think this will inform the budget decision.
process.
In the budget process, because we've had questions, some of the people on our board have discussed or brought up the idea of considering some of these things individually outside of the budget process, and I don't think we can really do that because they're interrelated and budgets are about choices. And so that's always the case. In addition, of course, the town center proposals are so interrelated. It's like a domino effect.
Right.
So it's really to understand it and see the larger context as we consider the budget and what we want to do when.
I appreciate your setting that context.
Yeah.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Yes, sir.
I just have, the accruals, capital equipment accruals, the discussion that was had. And I had talked to Matthew, and I talked to you about the possibility of the Board of Finance and the town having an accrual account for capital equipment, rather than have individual departments have it. Because since we are on a cash flow basis, these are discretionary dollars. And they're not, in other words, those accruals are not necessarily dollars to spend. Okay, so, but I agree that we should have an accrual account. I just think that I would like to have you and Matt consider that we have one account, okay, for all departments.
Okay.
And therefore, like we do, it's based on need, okay? It's like the
interesting.
fire department needed a new $500,000 tanker. They got their $500,000 tanker. So I don't see anything wrong with us having that accrual account, but I think that accrual account be one capital account for public works, for the police department, for everybody.
Okay.
So if we're not doing it now by department, we can certainly set that account up and administer it. So I just like to have us consider that before we get too far down the road.
Okay.
And have that considered as an option. You give some thought about it, and Matt give some thought about it.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm used to in other work situations is that the capital budget is a percentage every year of what the operating budget is. And that it can continue to accumulate, but then the requests are made against whatever that pool is. And so that's the way the priorities are decided, so.
And then the selectmen, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Finance administer a pool. And I think
Correct.
that's based on need.
Right.
And sometimes somebody may have a want, but that need may jump ahead
Right.
of the
And
want.
it makes clear that everything in the budget is a matter of choices. There just is not unlimited funding for everything everybody wants. And of course, that is how we do it, but it's another way to show it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we end up making those decisions
Well, we do.
anyway.
Yeah, we do.
We
yeah.
do. We do
I mean,
make
that's
that.
how
Right.
it's decided.
Right.
But it's just how it's actually reflected for the town as opposed to individual departments.
Okay, we'll definitely look at
See
that.
what Tony says.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.